Sonu, how are you?
Good. Busy learning cooking.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I've never been someone who gets into the kitchen much, and now is just suddenly all about that.
Yeah, but
So I,
yeah, so it's interesting actually trying to be very self-sufficient. So yeah, it's interesting time.
yeah, interesting time. So thanks for talking to me because this whole idea came from the need of the hour, right? Because these are obviously extremely unconventional
Yeah,
routines and times for all of us.
yeah,
So as the co-founder of Tenovia and a company that is into servicing e-commerce platforms, right? You guys
yeah.
help e-commerce platforms scale up and you service them on a regular basis. I thought you would bring in a very different perspective to this crisis, both professionally, and I would also like to talk to you about, how you are dealing with it at a personal level also.
But
So just and because I know you as a person, so let me start by asking you that how has it been as a personal challenge for you? How has the
um,
lockdown been?
I think I I think like many people in my situation where we largely just focused around work, which consumes most of our time. It's for the first time that you've now forced to look at yourself as a person because you're entirely by yourself. While you have to take care of work as well, you also have to fend for yourself. You have to look at your groceries, you have to look at your cooking, you have to take care of household chores, and um, yeah, so that's been enlightening in many ways. Uh, Things that you thought were very daunting uh, now today seem fairly reasonably easy to do. Uh, Whereas some things I still think maids are underpaid. I think they are totally under.
I know. I think we're all having that sense of realization.
Absolutely, yeah.
There are
So,
some funny
so that
forwards
is
doing the
very
rounds,
patient.
right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, and there's so much planning, like what to cook for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and also manage work calls in between all of this, right? But I think the best part about all of it has been that the general corporate fraternity has been fairly understanding. Um, while earlier days, if you don't come on a meeting on time, it would be peeved or it would be looked down upon. But I think that has definitely changed, where people are much more empathetic, and that's something that I think as a leader I have understood that from my perspective with my team, and I've experienced that as a services company with my clients. Right, they are more understanding of the situation that we are in. So I think empathy quotient has definitely just boomed up everywhere.
I think what you
Yeah,
mentioned about empathy from clients going up is surely evident. But
yeah.
what were the initial things that you guys did as top management at Tenovia, right? As a reaction to this lockdown. Can you just list a few in terms of just reaction, first reaction to the whole thing?
Right. So from our perspective, uh, we were very closely watching what the situation was internationally. The reason being that our customers are largely medium and large retail brands, whose bigger chunk of business actually comes from their retail stores or offline distribution. And we had started picking up inputs about how retail was drastically affected in China and how that was slowly trickling into the other parts where the virus had taken hold of. And there was definitely a proactive uh, in terms of a proactive action from our perspective, knowing that this is going to come our way for all our customers. So there was a little buckling down that we had done maybe probably by mid of March itself. So there was I would say we were slightly prepared for what was going to happen. What we didn't expect was such a long period of a lockdown. That was definitely something that was not expected, and that was not something that we had forecasted would happen. But in a gist, three things that we primarily looked at was in terms of reassuring customers. I think that was the first step that we did, that we had to reassure our clients that the demand for the market, while it is going to be in a lull for a particular period of time, it is not going to drastically hit them because they are in a sense of anxiety. All big, large retail brands who have their bread and butter coming from 95% or 90% of their business coming in from physical stores are definitely in a state of anxiety. So that reassurance, the fact that e-commerce as a channel for them was up and running, and that's a channel for them to invest in, and this is the opportunity for them to kind of uh, use this to grow as a revenue stream, was definitely something that that was reassuring for them. And the second thing that we looked at, as any business would look at, was in terms of all our costs. So we had to look at very seriously looking at which costs are absolutely essential for us. What is something that we were looking at in terms of growth, and all the fluff essentially had to be cut. So those were some processes that we had to look at. And the third bit that we were also trying to look at, more importantly than anything else, is just the safety of our people, because we have folks working from across the country. So our objective was to get them back to their hometown safe. So we re-looked at our policies. We re-looked at the work from home. So we had a trial work from home 1 week business continuity plan actually going on before the lockdown actually hit us. So we were fairly prepared for it. Um, but none of us, I don't think anybody could have expected what actually has happened. So yeah, so I don't think any amount of preparation really preps you up for where you are today.
Yeah. What about, can you tell us exactly how you are cutting costs, and how are you prioritizing, and also in terms of reassuring customers, is it just the communication that is doing that, or how are you doing that?
So some things that we have done so I'll address your first question in terms of how are we reducing costs. So when you are in business as usual, you have your prioritizations of what is it that you would like to do. So for example, for us, there is the daily running costs of operational costs that you incur as a business. We also park aside a certain budget every quarter for growth. And when we say growth, it's basically some kind of automation, some kind of AI, machine learning, because we sit on a lot of data, projects that we think will help us scale faster. Those essentially have, unfortunately, in this point in time, taken the biggest hit, because those projects have effectively been kept on hold. We have also divided our workforce into what is the critical stuff that we really need, and some staff, for example, who are currently not going to have enough role to play, given that our clients are not selling online, right? So it's only essential customers or essential services clients that is actually being sold online, and marketing budgets, for example, have been trimmed down. So for those folks, we have re-looked at what kind of pay structures we can do for them right now. But we have not done any cuts in CTCs. I think that's something that we are holding fort. We are not letting our teams take a cut, and we have re-looked at our entire people-led costs to be able to ensure that at least jobs are safe. Because I think every business person has to some way think about saving the jobs that they hold. And that's essentially how you can then somewhere try and save the economy, right? Because we are in a gridlock right now. So yeah, so that
Yeah,
was in terms of
that's really amazing, because you're clearly prioritizing retention of jobs, and not looking at salary cuts or layoffs at the
yeah,
moment. You looked at other heads which were growth
correct,
related, like you said. That's a good
correct.
input, that's a good input. Of course, I've heard it time and again that advertising budgets are the first to go. So
Yeah,
obviously, that will impact our industry that I'm part of, both in brand consultancy as well as advertising. But yeah, I mean, fair point. What about any learnings that you guys would like to share that you think would be value addition for the listeners?
there are so many learnings for us as a business. I have to go back to that first point where people are empathetic. I think we live in a very competitive world today. We've become that. highly corporatized, highly competitive, cutthroat competition, 8 hours, 9 hours of work life. And the silver lining in all of this is that, you have, it's a very petty compensation for, a crisis that's looming and for an economy that's practically stalled. But, we have got clean air today for the first time. There's every situation that presents itself, and I'm a conservationist. I believe in, I'm a birder. I love the fact that today I can go outside in my balcony and I can hear the chirping of birds, right? So um, there is a silver lining in all of this. I think we just have to introspect, uh, and while there could be a lot of anxiety, I think that's important that we introspect and see what the positives are that's coming out of the situation. Um, from a business point of view, I think we have just hunkered down from a sales perspective. I think now we have a very, very clear focus. There is no scope for distraction. You just have to be really focused right now and over communicate. I think that's the third learning that we have. Just constantly keep talking to your people, constantly keep talking to your clients. Like one question that you were asking was, how are you reassuring your customers? There's a fair bit of data points that's actually going out in the market in terms of how previous epidemics have led to consumer behavior changing, right? Your SARS and your MERS, for example, has, there's an L-shaped, economics theory suggests there are three scenarios. There's an L-shaped, V-shaped, and a U-shaped. Realistically, it could be a U-shaped. That means the recovery period could be fairly longer than a V-shape. But having said that, all of these scenarios, getting your customers prepped up for each of these scenarios, telling them what they need to do from a re-engineering point of view, from a marketing perspective, and helping them see the light of day. I think that's the most important thing as service providers we can do. Those would be key learnings for us going forward.
Yeah, and I think both you and me are quite happy with this situation where nature is taking over, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
a joy to watch.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Sonu, for talking to me.
Thanks, Arpita, for inviting me. I think it's been great talking to you. I think what you're doing is fabulous. It's definitely important for the fraternity to have such access. It's absolutely wonderful initiative that you're doing.
I'm just doing my bit. You are doing all the talking. I'm just so grateful for your time and everybody else who has, chipped in. You will see, if you follow the series, you will see people from across industries, and across age groups, I would say. I've even interviewed a 25-year-old entrepreneur and a 65-year-old, right? So there is a lot of takeaways, and please feel free to give feedback when you see the series being released.
Sure.
So that feedback is most welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sonu.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Stay
Take
safe.
care. Yep.